Good evening. My name is Judy Lucas, and I want to share my passion for our nonprofit organization, Friends of Field Workers Incorporated, whose mission it is to befriend and to support the families of field workers. I believe transformation happens when we see everyone around us as our neighbors. In my Life Application Bible, there's a footnote to the story of the Good Samaritan we've just heard, and it says, "To the expert in the law, the wounded man was a subject to discuss. To the robbers, the wounded man was someone to use and exploit. To the religious men, the wounded man was a customer to serve for a fee. To the Samaritan, the wounded man was a human being worth being cared for and loved. To Jesus, all of them and all of us were worth dying for." I want to thank you. Thank you so much for your generous gifts to Friends of Field Workers over the last several months, and for seeing our field workers as neighbors, as our neighbors, as human beings worth being cared for and loved. Mount Cross has given us so much, from the preschoolers' collection of new children's socks and books, to the quilts, diapers, shoes, to Marilyn's face masks, to lots of money at Christmas, which provided families with Target cards to spend on their needs. You also helped us support the family of a 38-year-old father who was dying of cancer after 25 years of field work. Well, Juan lay dying on a Sunday morning in his hospice bed in his tiny room about 6 weeks ago. His daughter begged me, "Can you please get someone to help him leave?" I ran across the street to the Oxnard Christian Church at 11 a.m., just as Pastor Furman Hernandez was about to enter his pulpit. I told him what was happening to our neighbor, and he turned over the service to someone else. He took his wife Lucy's arm, grabbed his Bible, and walked across the street with me. In Spanish, he spoke with Juan, who was fully conscious. He prayed with him and with his family all around him, and we sang together. 20 minutes later, Juan moved to heaven. In this time of pandemic, one spiritual practice that can help us counter the fear we feel is noticing synchronicities. The author Greg Lavoie writes, "Maybe the most important thing synchronicities offer us is astonishment. How often, after all, in the course of a day or a week or a month, do you find yourself thunderstruck, flabbergasted at life, amazed by its finesse? Synchronicities are like the glimpse of a wild animal seldom seen, the discovery of an arrowhead or a geode, the return of your purse by some good Samaritan. Far removed from the mundaneness that seems to characterize such a vast portion of our daily life, they help us reconnect us to our sense of awe, and given the tyranny of the commonplace, what a service." Here is a recent example from just last week. Rosendo, Rosalia, Serafina, and Candido were working in the fields without raincoats. I asked them to go after work to the WSS to get one. They could have the manager call me and I would pay for it by credit card over the phone. They got there, but the store was closed. Minutes later, Ted, a Ventura County mutual aid volunteer, and I drove up to their door in Port Hueneme. in our van were items that Melissa Henry and her husband had just dropped off to us in the parking lot of the Coffee Bean at Rose Avenue, including 2 huge bags of socks and 3 men's jackets size small, the size that we needed, which her sister had given to her several months ago. See? You'll be amazed at how many of these things occur when you're looking for them. Just in case you're worried that there's not enough of you to go around to help everybody, remember that the Good Samaritan did what he could, first aid, and then he turned over the injured neighbor to someone who he could pay to meet his long-term needs. Transformation looks different to everyone. Let's transform our world together. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well. Every little cell in my body is happy. Every little cell in my body is well.